Thank you so much, Ryan. We are live once again on the stage here for the VRL League Season 3 Finals. I am super stoked to get everything started, but up first in game number 4, Echo Combat, Blerst sure knows how to keep things interesting, and lucky for us, we get to know the players behind the masks. Here to kick off day number 2 of the VR League, welcome Blerst. But, of course, we need to know who their challengers are, and some of these players might look somewhat familiar since 3 of them have already qualified to the finals in Echo Arena. But it's Kangorillaz that will be fighting strong once again for NA. Hoping to downgrade Blerst to worst, it's Kangorillaz. All right, looks like everyone is ready, so if a representative from each team can come on down, I know you are super excited to say some words to your opponents before, so I do want to hear from you because leading up to this, Blerst had a very interesting run through the qualifiers, even having to fight that 3v4 in the very last moments. So how are your confidence levels leading into this match?
Very low.
Very low? Why is that?
I don't know. I'm a little tired.
That'll do it. But hey, on the opposite side, how are you feeling about it then? Are you kind of in that vibe or elsewhere?
I'm definitely feeling better than he is. So I can say I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, one cool thing about this team having been together for quite a while and showing that camaraderie, so I know that having the later addition to it because you have the 3 that have been together for a bit, how does that dynamic work?
Well, they rag on me a lot. They make me feel awful. But they're my teammates, and I take it anyway.
That's the way to do it, and I'm happy to see you here on the stage this time around, but we're going to get it going here with our first semifinal of Echo Combat.
Camaraderie and peer pressure, yes, the key elements to creating a solid team. Now, final thoughts going into this one. Kangorillaz, Blerst, you can see that, I don't know, there's an element of morning fatigue there, a bit of sleepiness going on.
A little bit of juxtaposition there between the two sides, which is great to see.
What are your final thoughts heading into this?
Honestly, I'm just excited to see these games. I mean, I think as kind of mentioned in some of the player interviews, players need to be working on stuff at all times. I mean, if you have a man down in this game, then you are at a serious disadvantage. However, Blerst play a very inclusive play style that really forces them to use all of their members, whereas doing a control kind of play has a much stronger likelihood of leaving a person in a position where they can get punished. So it's going to be, honestly, I have no idea which way this game is going to go at this point, so I'm just excited to see the match.
Wow, all right. I really want to see this get underway as well. We're going to get to it shortly. I think the players are getting set up, getting conditioned, warming up the limbs, making sure that everything is in good order and they are ready to get this underway because it is all to play for. They've gone through the Open Cups, they've gone through the closed qualifiers, the playoffs, everything has been done and dusted, and now it is time to settle the scores and become the Season 3 VR League champions, but they are a semis and a finals away from that. And we are just going to look at a little bit more of, you know, strategically what they're going to be bringing to this one, because we talked about earlier how, you know, there's possibility that some teams are bringing new strats to the final because they have been saving them, you know, not using them in the online season and waiting for that LAN event to kind of strike hard while the iron's hot.
Yeah, and as well, I think looking at these maps, obviously we're going to be starting with Payload, moving on to Dyson, which is the open map I mentioned before, and then Combustion, which is the more close-range combat one. So in terms of what we're expecting team loadouts-wise, Blerst almost always run one Meteor Nova to some extent. So that is like the grenade launcher and the shotgun. And that's because they use 2 people to get in really close and personal with that shotgun and convert the kills. Something we will see here as well, I imagine, which I'm sure Jason and Jackie will be covering as part of the cast, will be the healing as well. So the healing is very strong in Echo combat right now. So you're going to see a lot of heals coming out from both teams. There'll be the beams going from player to player, and also the insta-heal grenades, which have the capacity to heal, I think, up to like 75% of a player's health, but then as many teammates are in that a certain sphere as possible. So up to 300% of a player of a health potential for healing there. So it's huge, actually, when you think about it. So it's going to come down to a lot of how teams choose to use their tacticals, how they choose to engage, and I would say Blerst are going to be the team that's going to be engaging 9 times out of 10. It will very rarely be Kangorillaz in this, meaning that that's kind of where the emphasis is going to sit on how Blerst attack. This is why I kind of feel like, depending on how they approach this, if they can get those picks on Strem and Loveridge, that's going to really decide how it pans out.
Jersey, I'm jumping in.
Yeah, go for it.
I told the production to turn our mics on because I want to get in on this conversation.
Great, go for it.
For the fact that Blerst are so damn aggressive that I think tactical moderation in terms of like keeping an idea of when our tacticals are going to be up versus when theirs are not is going to be a very important factor in this match as well. Because as we said, when they played against Gravity in the qualifiers, they attacked, even though Gravity gave up the point, and they would constantly try to force you to use these tacticals, so they would always have attack advantage into the next skirmish. I think what's going to be interesting is like the adaptations, as we saw just in the last week of playoffs alone, where a lot of arc mines are being used on payload.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great.
In the tunnel phase, in the second phase of the whole map, trying to catch them as they get some early damage coming in. And something we've mentioned is that burst damage is like super key. Like, if you're gonna eliminate someone, you have to do it quickly. There's no way you can slowly chip someone down. That's why we're not seeing the pulsars too much, because you have to blow them up, because the healing is so extreme, the burst healing that you can do. So we're gonna have to see a lot of like focus fire, a lot of communication of who to focus down in in a split second. And I feel like Blerst in general, just from their Echo arena experience when they played as Blast, have the ability and the communication and the skill to re-grab off each other now in a LAN environment to really like get across the map quickly and catch a team off guard. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think as well, looking at, obviously we looked at what Blerst win condition is essentially, in that take out Strem, take out Loveridge, those are your 2 key targets, take them out, and then that's really your key to victory in those team fights. But from Kangorillaz' side, I think the way is to basically stagger your tacticals, use as little as you can, because they're going to be coming to fight you again and again and again. But not only do you have to do that, you also have to be very precise about what you're using when you're using it, and in some cases it's even giving up the team fights, because if you are down all these tacticals, it's probably better that you just let them have the point. I mean, this comes back to Gravity.
That's your leverage.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you let them take, or you let them try to cap the point, and you just stall for an hour.
Exactly. Or you stall. But I think one way or the other, they've got to be very decisive about what tacticals they use, and this is going to be really difficult, because going on a LAN environment, you've got so many things going on, trying to keep track of not only what the opponent's tacticals are, but also your communicating with your teammates about when your attacks are up, who's using the next tack. When they come up with a 2-man stack, who's throwing out their detonated grenade to try and get the damage on, and they have to hit. That's the thing. Not only do they have to time these perfectly, they have to hit their shots almost every single time.
On that note about using like your ordinances, one thing that really confused, I think, both of us when we were watching the Blerst vs Gravity game was that Gravity knew Blerst would just go straight into the point every time, and yet we didn't see like the double detonators used to try to eliminate them on their traversal from point A to point B. But look at these two teams, with Kangorillaz up against Blerst. I think one thing we need to mention is a Strembitsky factor.
Yeah.
Because it's a major commitment if you have the 2 Novas, 2 Meteors versus like the 2 Novas, 1 Meteor and the Comet, or 1 Nova, 2 Meteors and a Comet.
It changes
the way you play completely,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
And
one gun, one tactical can change it drastically.
If you look at Blerst, I'm not really seeing a Comet player on the same kind of level as Strembitsky. So Blerst, I feel like, are going to be the ones that have to adapt to, if Strembitsky does go for the Comet plays on some of these maps, they have to figure out how can we get to him quick enough, how can we kill him off. And if he runs phase shift, then he's really just baiting the enemy team into an aggressive play that they can turn around.
That's one of the things I'm actually trying to hope to see a little bit more going into this as well, is kind of a bit more of that tactical use of phase shift, because we saw it sort of come into the meta a little bit more towards the end of the season,
to see when it's used
right.
It's
super effective. It actually provides for a lot more interesting sort of play styles, I think, than we saw for the first sort of early weeks. It wasn't really utilized. We were kind of questioning if it's just not in the meta, if it's ever going to be in the meta. Suddenly, more and more people started incorporating it. It also really helps out with players like Strembitsky as well, because this entire Kangorillaz team, they really do put up a fight when it comes to that individual aim capability.
Absolutely. I would be very surprised if we don't see him running it throughout this tournament. I would expect to see it maybe come off the bat for them just because they know he's going to be a target. If you know one of your players is going to be focused down, especially if they're running a Comet and they're sitting away from the team, you absolutely want to push phase shift on them because it allows them that invulnerability to prevent the damage coming onto them when they get pressured. However, if and I think as well talking about how phase shift has developed over this season, I also think that there are a few players in combat in the league that are as good at the Comet as him, which could justify then using phase shift, right? Because I think as we saw through both North America and Europe, there are people that have tried to use it, but to limited success because they can't get the damage out, the consistent damage you need to force the other team to have to deal with you.
Yep.
Strem, I think, is one of the only people that we've actually seen that has used it consistently throughout matches and has always been a pain spot for people.
The thing is as well with that, I don't even know if it's purely just down to like an aim level, Jason, because it feels like a lot of what we saw when he was having those huge plays was the positioning. It was all the map awareness.
Yeah,
game sense is crazy for him.
Like the thing is, I think you can run the Comet on generally every map, but there's one situation I see, like attacking on payload on Fission is like the one situation you would never use it. I'm just curious because the thing is, like, obviously you have to sit away from your team. You have to know not only like where your team's playing and play around them, but you have to also know how the enemy team is going to attack or play against you and be able to get a position that you can use that sticks to your team close enough that they can support you and that you get angles to shoot from. And looking at like payload defense, I'm wondering like if he's actually gonna be able to punish Blerst for their like movement across the map as their aggressive plays. Like if they come straight for an enemy, I mean, what's flying first? Your head, right? And you can just be completely destroyed before you even have a chance to fight, then follow up with detonators, and your initial attack could be completely shut down. So I think it's a lot of pressure on Strembitsky to hit these shots, and the Comet is like is the only weapon in the game where it's only really, I mean, I can't say it's only as good as its user, but it becomes more impactful the better a player gets.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's also, coming back to the whole healing thing, this is why it is so key to get it to a point where its value on the team is at a point where it's on par with the other weapons and the other kind of the meta itself, is by having someone that is that skillful with it. Because if
you can force tacticals in order, like instant heals, repair matrices just from a shot.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've also got to remember is that the whole point is with the super fast aggressive insta-kill meta that we kind of have now with the Meteors and Novas, you have the issue of if they are running a Comet and you are doing damage at range, your team needs to convert that damage to kills, right? And if your team is running very close range weapons, if they're not in the position to deal with that, like the damage is useless. You can force tax, but if you don't have a plan to follow up on that and punish the fact that they don't have tax, which a lot of teams don't, they'll drain them, they'll force them to use their heals, and then they'll still continue to slow play it. They don't go, okay, we forced them to blow out their healing, let's go, let's start engaging now. You kind of want to have the control play to start with, using that like sniper to kind of do the damage, and then follow up with a Blerst style super fast engage to like basically capitalize on the fact that they don't have their tax up anymore.
It always feels like a gamble too.
It is,
running like the 2-on-1, running like 2 Novas,
it's really
1 Meteor,
risky.
1 Comet, because basically if you don't hit that Comet shot, like that's always gonna be the factor, like the unknown factor of is Strembitsky gonna hit a shot or not. Like Meteors in general, it's AoE, so you get like a minimum of damage in with splash.
He does have
Novas,
splash damage though.
Yeah, exactly. So you at minimum you get like splash damage, right? With the Nova, it's pretty hard to miss a shotgun blast, unless you're shooting against leverage, which he's literally Neo in the Matrix here. But the Comet, it's like such a gamble. It's like this attack you could hit no shots and we have no chance. Or the next attack, he could hit every shot and we win without having to use anything. So it's like such a high risk, high reward kind of situation that if Strembitsky's going to bring this to the table, he has to be confident to hit his shots, and he has to be able to hit them effectively and consistently, I think, is really important.
He was kind of doing that, though. We got to a point where basically he would be able to be a one-man army against all 3 men in front of him and just one by one would destroy him. But I suppose in this environment, it depends if it's just, you know, are you coming into it, you're feeling a bit fatigued. Obviously, you have a lot of things in your mind trying to deal with this and everything else is going on for the whole Kangorillaz squad.
Very much.
It could be spreading himself a little bit thin, potentially. You're still going to be able to keep that really high-octane playstyle he's had the whole season here now. And
as well, the thing is, you've got to think from their perspective, if they go and take this game, they then not only have to play Echo Arena, like this now, they then have to play Echo Arena later this afternoon, and then this again in the evening.
No. So it's actually Echo Combat the entire way through. It's semi straight into finals.
Oh, is it? Are we doing
they're moving our Space Junkies, I believe. So they don't have to play again later for Echo Combat, but they do have to play again later for Echo Arena.
But that's still, I mean, the same duration. It's just more condensed down into the initial factor. But that means they're going to be back to back to back, basically, exactly with these games. So yeah, like their physical fatigue will be coming into this massively. And I think as well also with some of the issues they had in their games yesterday, the mental fatigue that probably be getting to some of the teams as well.
Mental fortitude, so important.
Ridiculously important, especially going into this game, looking at it from a you have to play every single fight in a lot of these situations perfectly, because if you don't, the other team, especially Blerst, will capitalize on that. I mean, you just look at how they played against another control style team, and if that's your basis, if you're based in control style as your team, you want to manage the game, you want to have these long drawn out engages where you pick off, you do damage, and you're not doing this super fast play style. Blerst have had a lot of practice against that now, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they both pair up. But yeah, the loadouts, one gun and one tactical change from a team drastically changes how they want to play this. And I also think that we're going to see a big range of different compositions coming out, because throughout the season we've seen the Echo Combat meta develop to the point where we now have like a very clear, like we have a really control style play, super slow, doing damage from range, having a Comet player, and then the super more aggressive, okay, we're going to throw 2 Meteors and Novas, we're going to hold the close angles. So even on Dyson, you've got that tunnel section at the back, which we'll get to see, where you have the Nova and the Meteor basically saying, right, you could come and fight us in here, but you're going to lose. And we just hide from all the range damage, which is something the V Respawn did like religiously for the first half of this season. That's how they were completely just stomped over and over again. And it was actually only Gravity, funny enough, that broke that hold when they started to do damage from range and hold the open space in one of the Community Cups, funnily enough. So we actually have seen them break that hold, and following on from that, North American teams started to find a way to get around that kind of super aggressive short-range defensive hold from V Respawn. So we have seen it happen once before, so it might be an indicator of something that could be coming later. But for this game, I think, yeah, Blerst Kangorillaz is going to be one for the books.
And the thing is, looking at how like the maps play out, you compare Dyson to Combustion. Like Dyson, there's a big funnel, right? Because you obviously have like a big doorway in the front. You also have the tunnels in the back, so splash damage with the Meteors is insane. Novas as well, since you can facilitate, you know, these easy passages. But looking at Combustion, I still want to see like a double Comet play, double Comet, double phase shift, attack from multiple angles, have the other 2 players there to potentially support to just bounce back between wherever they decide to attack.
Just crossfire from range,
yeah, exactly,
basically.
Because it's such an open control point that you can put pressure from so many different angles that you force the team who wants to turtle on the point to come off the point to attack.
That's very true. I don't think I've seen that at all, because obviously if you're using a ranged weapon like the Comet, if you've got 2 ranged weapon players, they can sit much further back, so it becomes very difficult for Meteors or Novas to engage on them. The only thing you do have to remember, though, is with Combustion, you do obviously have like it sinks in for the point, which is actually why it's so easy to hold from a defender's perspective on Combustion, which we'll see. The point is very enclosed, but it's also kind of dropped, so there's a kind of indented ceiling and a floor as well. So you've got to bear in mind that they almost want to hold different angles. But yeah, that is something that we have seen. I mean, we've seen, or we haven't seen yet, but we would love to see. But we also have seen in that kind of style, we've seen Blerst, who came out with a kind of pincer maneuver, actually, if you remember. So they sent 2 players to either side of the map to the other team's spawn, their spawn, and they just boosted in full speed Nova's Meteors. It didn't quite work out in the way they were attempting.
But we respect the hustle of it,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And that was because the team that I think it was Gravity at the time read it, and they had the tacticals ready. And that's the problem. If you're running these 2-man stacks into a defense and they have detonators and Meteor shots ready, your stack can just be blown up in a second.
Or even a threat scanner just to see it coming.
Just to know
when
they're
like,
coming. Yeah, exactly.
Let's ignore this side. Because I feel like Gravity is one of those teams that realizes like we technically don't need to hold the point the entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
We're more than happy to, if you're going to 2v or 2-2 us like with a pincer move, we'll literally send our 4 players to attack your 2. Kill
and then
them
we'll
off.
come back and 2v2 the other
and then,
one. Yeah,
we'll lose the point for like 5-10 seconds, but we'll come back, we'll win another 4v2, and then we'll hold the point again for a longer period of time.
Well, it's that level of sort of being able to stagger your opposition, right? Where you keep them on the sort of the bad foot for as long as physically possible by winning those fights in that manner. You don't need to full wipe.
That's a perfect note too, because we saw over the qualifiers and even in the weekly cups that a lot of teams don't punish like that strangler player that survives. They don't actually just go and attack.
Yeah,
they don't realize like how much time they actually do have.
Yeah, Blerst have done it a little bit, but that's just one of those that, yeah, it is something that we hope to see in some of these games coming up now.
All right, we are ready to get the action underway. Yes, Blerst versus Kangorillaz, the first semi-finals for Echo Combat. Double J, Jackie and Jason. Jason and Jackie, take it away.
Oh, I got my name first for once. I'm
Nice
so happy.
man. We're back.
Okay, all right. We don't have to go that route. So clearly, Ryan is a much better talent than I am, because I would not have remembered that from yesterday. about how I wanted to be first for once.
Changed.
Yeah, you know, alphabetical in America, I guess.
Well, you are more the big spoon, so it makes sense.
Everyone loves to be the small spoon, but you know who doesn't love to be the small spoon, at least in this situation, is Blerst. They're going to be attacking first, and they're looking to come out big right off the bat. Kangorillaz, take a look, as they do have those 3 repair matrices. As they're looking to, they're playing patty cake here a little bit. I did technically make like a wager. Whoever has the best victory dance, like win a score or a victory, I would like give $100 bucks to, but no one's even really tried, so.
We haven't seen those emotes. Hopefully they'll start to come out more and more over the course of today though, Jason. Seedable Bag wants to kick it off instantly though. He's not a fan of reptiles, and Lone Gecko is kicked straight on his hiney to open this one up. A little bit of movement early on.
Well, we can see Nova's being picked up. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, we're seeing double comets out of Kangorillaz here trying to play from range. So we were talking about before, wanting to potentially see it as well. They're going to be using it right off the bat here on payload. As Blerst is looking to push the payload up, they actually do have a man advantage. It's going to be 4 up against 1 now, as Leverage is the last man alive, looking to chase this one down to pick him off. And they're trying to do so just as we were talking about before. We wanted to see these aggressive plays. We wanted to see them realize we have a man advantage. We can force this against you. They do hold him back, and now Boop's going to have to be careful because he's overextended a little bit.
This is actually really nice movement coming out from the surviving Kangorillaz, though, that have been able to dive their way away and actually keep themselves in the game to move back over, go for the regrouped attack, the 4-on-4, straight up towards the site. Tons of damage done. Sambritsky tagging everyone from a distance. Seedable Bag getting involved with the fold as well. And they actually do tidy that one up, Jason, and regain control. But they have secured themselves that first checkpoint as a staple.
I am enjoying, actually, the double detonators out of both teams, too. The double detonators, instant heals as well. The double detonators, with how we've seen like Blerst like to move, look at that, coming straight at you, can do some serious damage. And we already mentioned how important Blast, Burst, I don't know, I'm messing up everywhere. Damage is how important it is, actually, when it comes to Echo Combat. But we can see it looks like Blerst with a little bit of HP on Nilovic and Boop.
The movement.
Yeah, I mean, Leverage is, he's going to put on a clinic, honestly. If you're trying to get an Echo Combat, you're trying to get better, watch him play and watch how good he is at moving and stalling for time, and that's exactly what you want to do.
Well, that, for me, probably is one of the bigger aspects, of course, across the board for the Echo games, but it's just that level of movement he has that sets him so far ahead of the competition to put you into just ludicrous positions. You can change your entire playstyle just because of how quickly you can get into the fold, duck out, and just take no damage. Completely negates half of the plays that Kangorillaz are trying to make against him. Interesting
to see as well. Kangorillaz is technically playing like in a deficit because they don't have as many repair matrices as Blerst. They're running the threat scanner instead out of Strembitsky. So they're getting information, yes. The problem is that they're not going to have the extra healing when it comes to these fights. So they're really banking on Strembitsky hitting these shots as well as Sputnik Cobra to get a lot of damage done to maybe, you know, use this threat scanner to actually bait out one of the repair matrices so they can actually equalize in terms of ordinances and tacticals.
Well, you mentioned his name, and he's going to start doing damage for you, Jason, as he's absolutely slaying. Picks up the 2 entries there to at least try and slow them down. Getting incredibly close towards that checkpoint, but it's been stalled for the meantime, at least, as they do wipe out the majority of the squad and are able to calm themselves back down.
This double meter, double comet is just really interesting to see out of Kangorillaz. I mean, it's really punishing Blerst for trying to traverse across the map really quickly. Like for them in this area, it's really hard to hit these shots from long range unless you're going to barrel down. But Sealable Bag's been able to connect onto 2. Now they can out of Lego, both going to fall. And it's all on Lone Gecko here to hold. It looks like he's going to get some distance on the payload, yes, but eventually going to be cleaned up. Kind of similar to what we see out of Gravity in terms of the King of the Hill modes, is let them have the point for a little bit of time to go clear up the fight somewhere else and come back in. And then, yeah, you give it some distance, but in the end, you hold the point and you take a lot of time off of that clock.
I'm actually curious the amount of damage Strembitsky's done overall into this already, because Boop was sitting at about 1,300 just a few mere seconds into the game. So they've definitely been showing how lethal they are. Pretty much the same there. 1,300 now been picked off for Strembitsky. As you can see, just glides his way around. Easy flicks across the board. The aim capability this man has is normally unmatchable. But Blerst going to be looking like they want to try and pick themselves up this match, Jason. They move forward and get that checkpoint.
Yeah, through the second phase. Now I wonder, is there going to be switch-ups out of Kangorillaz side? Because we're going to phase 3. We're going into the ramp, which is going to be a very key where number 36 is on the mini-map out of Lego. You got to get up that ramp to, we'll fight in a fight against the high ground. And we know how that worked for Anakin Skywalker, and it's probably going to work the same way for Blerst. Unless they can get aggressive, is already off the bat. Out of Lego and Boop going to fall initially. Strembitsky hitting shots as well as Leverage. And we do see the swap up come in. Sputnik Cobra's gotten rid of the Comet, switch over to the Meteor here for some extra damage, some extra burst. And again, with how close quarters you are, the Meteor can put in some serious work. It can get so much value out of just a single shot.
Yeah, this is going to be really horrible as well. Fighting that uphill battle straight into that splash damage. The connections are instant as well.
Also, the back coming from behind, looking for some easy damage. He gets the flank around. It looks like they're actually not able to pick up a single kill off this, unfortunately, because the healing's going to be there. But if anything, the 2 repair matrices are down. Instant healing going to be out, at least for Lone Gecko, as Lego's going to fall. But this is working out for Blerst. They get a 3-for-1 exchange.
This is good. It feels like Boop's actually been doing a ton of damage here to at least open up these early intros. 1,700
damage. 1,700 damage now. I was looking earlier on. I think I want to say it was like Lego or now the Lone Gecko 700.
Yeah.
He's got over 1,000 damage more than Lone Gecko so far.
It's crazy too. Boop opened it up with about 1,300, and then since then Strambitsky's just been taking it by leaps and bounds and keeps on moving with that. Leverage gets involved as well. Strambitsky finally laid to rest. Set to cool off for a moment of time, but Boop is back in action, and he's beating his way through. 1,600 damage, Jason, and this lethality knows no bounds. He carries on. That's a full cleanup.
The payload's going to move. They actually might be able to finish this off. Number 17's going to come in. It's going to be Strambitsky who switches over to the Nova, trying to stall for some time, trying to get the reinforcements to be there, and he gets himself a nice double. There's a chance Kangorillaz going to hold on. However, they've been wiped out. Lego and Lone Gecko close it out, and Blerst will get the completion here on the first map.
That's got to be at least 2k damage for Boop at the end of that one, surely. That's ridiculous. He was just punishing his way through everyone so easily. Literally just the Boop versus Strambitsky show when it comes down to the raw aim.
And they're playing completely different weapons too. Boop going to be up close and personal with the Nova. I think he was actually using Nova. I didn't actually check when I was looking at towards the end. But having to play different styles with the long range for Strambitsky, who eventually did switch over away from it. Then up against Blerst in their aggressive playstyle. But then again, Blerst wasn't like super aggressive. I don't feel like they were ever charging into the enemies. I feel like it was a lot of like Kangorillaz maybe getting over aggressive and not allowing Strambitsky to hit the shots from range before they do collapse on top of Blerst.
It was also kind of the way they were setting up those fights, because that's where it feels like a lot of Boop's damage was actually initially coming out from. It was from a distance. They were essentially working as those 2-man squads, tanking that initial just level of health, stripping it away, and not leaving much sustain on the Kangorillaz. So when they did go for the convergence on the fight, way, way easier. You're left with the upper hand. You can pretty much just work your way through.
All right, well, I think we have a quick little remake here. Blerst has lost out on a player. We can kind of look into what Kangorillaz have picked up in terms of their kit. Double Comet again on attack. Interesting to see, looking for some early damage yet again. But I'm imagining that we'll get confirmation in a second if this is live or not. I'm assuming we're going to have the reconnect come back through, but we'll obviously update you when we do know how this is going to go. But they're going to continue to play like it's live anyway, so Blerst, they have to look for stall for time as much as they possibly can here to hope for that reconnect to come back.
Well, they're just playing as a trio right now, which is probably the smartest move to make if this is going to be carrying on as live, Jason. Just all stuck behind the island, trying to work together, basically raining hell down. They are stripping a fair amount of health off the Kangorillaz, not leaving them in too much of a favorable spot. Bit of a flank coming through. It's actually the push from Strambitsky. 22,000 damage. Trying to get himself into a good angle to carry on adding to that tally and really up himself even
scary.
further.
You have Strambitsky and Sputnik Cobra to sit back, to provide support, while Silver Bag and Leverage charge in with their Novas. And they're depending on their 2 players on the payload to push it up and do damage from range, while the other 2 cause a distraction and hopefully able to close out some eliminations. Boop on a sliver of HP. Nalvik as well taking a hell of a lot of damage there. There's no real chance that they can contest this payload anymore, as it will cross the first checkpoint.
Yeah, they're going to secure that one and lock it down. They clean up as well. It's the full wipe on everyone on the side of Blerst. They've been blasted away again. And at this point, it's just left with them defending. And they can carry on moving from this position. Jason, this is rough for Blerst. It's not a favorable position to be in, really.
Again, like, if you're down a man, you're down so much damage. We already talked about the amount of burst you need to be able to finish someone off, because the healing you can do, you're at such a major disadvantage that it's really hard to fight back from this one. And Kangorillaz, I mean, they're going to continue to push through. They've lost down 2 players, so Blerst have been able to pick up a couple of kills there, but a couple of kills is not going to be enough when you have to fight with the man down.
Newick trying to recoil away, at least hold on, keeping himself in cover to try and get the shots across. This is lovely movement from Leverage. Always being able to show off that extra little bit of pizzazz and finesse that he carries. Glides his way up into a potential uppercut position here, Jason. They're swarming them. The Sharks are all over the Blerst boys.
Well, this should be the payload to continue to move forward here in a few seconds. I mean, Blerst, almost their best bet is just to attack over and over and over again, hoping to win one of these exchanges and just stall the payload, because they're trying to eat away at the time. I think they realize there's no way we're going to full hold this anymore. We need to somehow eliminate as much time off that 5-minute clock as possible, but it's seeming to be way too difficult here. You can see Kangorillaz realizing we're just going to keep all 4 on payload. You have to come to us to stop us, and when you do, we have 2 Novas waiting for you and 2 Comets.
Yeah. Going straight into their jaws right now, though. The flank could be the potential change. As they do get behind, they can pincer play onto them. The 3 players trapped in the middle, the sandwich of the Kangorillaz all over them. It should be easy pickings, however, they are at least trying to put up a fight of their own. Lone Gecko will get the opening and take down Sputnik to at least delay for a matter of time. Sealable Bag with a quick trade, and that might actually be everyone down and out. Lilywick is the only one that remains, but I can't imagine for long, Jace.
Yeah, I just got confirmation they are playing this one through, so there's not going to be a reconnect out of Blerst, unfortunately. Which, I mean, I'm going to just basically say Kangorillaz are going to take the first map. Like, you just can't win 3v4. It doesn't matter how good you are. These teams have proven to be the best of the best from their regions, and they're relatively of equal skill. Playing a man down just puts you so far behind that if Blerst somehow pulled this off, I would shave Jackie's beard. And then and then eat the hair.
If you want. I feel like that's fair at the position we've been left in, Jason. There's not much that's going to be coming out from Blerst in this one, really. They might be needing that beard.
We were talking about the Echo sandwich yesterday. We just sprinkle some of your beard on top of it.
That could be the sauce.
I don't know if you'd want to eat a beard sauce. It sounds like it's stuck in your throat. But here we go, 16 meters left to go, 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Kangorillaz looking to push the payload up as they do have everyone grouped back up. They're still sticking to the double Comets and the double Novas. And they're going to be pushing in, allowing Sealable Bag here in leverage to look for a quick elimination if they can focus the right target. Somehow, Boop's been able to help provide an elimination here towards the backhand side of the payload, but the payload's continuing to push. No one's alive from Blerst, and Kangorillaz will complete.
There you have it. They're going to lock it down. Finish it off there as well, Strumbitsky. 3,322
damage. They got their 4 back. All right, so maybe it's not over just yet. Maybe there's a chance here that Blerst can come back. The problem is they're down by like over 2 minutes of time. So they have 2 minutes of time less to work with to push the payload across the map as far as they possibly can.
It's also the fact that the run they had wasn't even bad as well. It was actually fairly competitive going into it, but then obviously you're left in a scenario where trying to defend when you are that man down is a way worse position to be in as well. There's really not much you can do. They kind of adopted the idea of just going for the wolf pack push in as a free, keep trying to delay over and over again. I guess it's a gamble at that point, right? Of like, what can you do? It's literally just the lesser evil. I would have just said,
like, forget the instant heals and repair matrices. Let's just go full burst. Get detonators in there. Maybe get some force fields. Because they knew, like, we can't get this player back in. We just have to stall for time. Just bombard that payload. Try to land your detonators the best you can. And just buy, like, an extra 20, 30 seconds in an attack. But they do have all players back in, so we'll be back to the 4v4. But there's such a big advantage for Kangorillaz. And not to mention the mental advantage that they're going to have over Blerst. Or Blerst being frustrated that that happened.
This could be rough. Let's see if they're actually able to recompose themselves, try and forget what's just happened.
It's not too big of a time difference, but it is a massive difference nonetheless, especially when it comes to just, what, a 0.01 meter that can win you the map. And it's only a best of 3 as well, so if you win this first map, 1 more to go, and you're into the finals. And for Kangorillaz, that could be a ton of extra money, because they're already through in the finals at Echo Arena. If they could do it here in Echo Combat, the money they would be making would be insane.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous. It's also the potential for them to actually get themselves the trophy twice. Sputnik Cobra opening up, though, beautiful damage done. He's lethal right now. He's really starting to give it. The blood is pumping through his veins, Jason.
So look at this. They have a Pulsar out of Sputnik Cobra. They've got a Nova for Sealable Bad. They got a Meteor for leverage, and they have a Comet for Strumbitsky. So using one of every weapon in the game. I don't think we've really seen this that often in terms of like the high caliber teams. We've seen like newer teams come in and try to use this kind of style, but this is interesting to see because it's working out for them so far on the defense.
It's crazy. It feels like we're actually just getting a little bit of everything going into the Live LAN finals at this point, which might be the way forward.
And then you have Blerst with 4 Novas. So Blerst are just pretty much, let's get in your face. So if you can do damage from range before they get there, then good on you. The problem is if they do get there, you're quickly going to be dismantled. However, it hasn't worked out for him here. Kangorillaz are going to hold strong yet again. Sealable Bag low on HP, but he should be able to heal up in time. 50 seconds left to go here for Blerst, and they've only pushed the actual payload about 20 meters.
Waiting now to see where they're going to go from
Okay, so they're split, are they split in 2v2?
Yeah, they are going to try and go for the pushback around. First 2 players in, the front 2 players going aggressive. Delayed push around to actually assist now, as it will be a bit of a brawl in the tavern, basically.
The thing is, by not fighting on top of the payload right now, all this time is being wasted. The thing is, the payloads continue to move backwards. If they lose this fight, they still didn't get distance. They've had to send 1 player back now as they're still skirmishing here towards the actual checkpoint. And now the payload's going to start to move. So that was another 20 or 30 seconds bought for Kangorillaz to delay the time out of Blerst.
Yeah, it's actually going to burn off a fair bit of their clock as they do start to move
up. No, and they have 2 repair matrices too as well. So when they come back in, they're going to have the healing advantage, massive healing advantage. There's 3 detonators on the side of Blerst. And that's going to be one player gone down. Lone Gecko getting caught out. 2 seconds left. They cannot afford to fall off the payload, but they will have lost this round. Sputnik, Cobra, and Silverback both going to fall here, so there's an actual chance that Blerst can continue to push this payload. However, they're losing players left and right. Adalego trying to hold on as he's trying to stick to the payload because they need to make sure to keep this payload in overtime. And that will pretty much do it. One player left alive. And it looks like 143.52 meters will be the distance Kangorillaz need to pass.
That was rough. Strambitsky basically doing all of the work there, hitting very critical shots towards the end to just punish them. Obviously, you're really going into that on the back foot. It's not an ideal way to have to try and go up against a fairly leveled opponent. It doesn't work out too nicely for him, Jason.
Not at all here, but we'll see how it's going to work out. I mean, kind of a shame for Boop because they had issues yesterday in Echo Arena. Have issues now today in Echo Combat. I hope they can keep that mental fortitude and keep their focus. And, you know, I will be fair to Blerst. Like, considering in that interview we saw Lone Gecko didn't look too good this morning, they're still playing pretty well considering. And I think they still have a chance, a legitimate chance in the series.
Yeah, I mean, these are the two squads that was kind of like, we're going into it as our opening semi-final, right? There's a lot on the line for, well, basically both of the semi-finals. But it's hard to judge on either side. Very evenly matched squads. First time they're really meeting going into this, obviously with the EU/NA sort of culture clash now. Very contrasting play styles, even from the online season to the actual LAN, with just the kits they've been running across the board have been really all over the place. They've definitely been feeling a little bit crazy.
Okay, so Kangorillaz, we got a stun field in there, detonator, 2 detonators actually, got a pulsar, 2 novas, and a comet again on attack this time. I actually like the use of the threat scanner for Strambitsky too, because we talked about the phase shift, right? Pulling aggression towards you, or you just use a threat scanner to actually get the information of where they're going to be, because they're not going to attack you right off the get-go with the payload, but they might do now as they've actually been able to take down Strambitsky. And look at the damage being done, but the healing out of Kangorillaz is able to keep them alive, and Blerst get a little bit overconfident, a little bit caught out here, and that actually might almost do it here for the first map.
The rough part is, to open that up for Blerst, it looked disgusting, the amount of damage they were actually connecting off. But at this point, Kangorillaz, they just have an open highway, and they put their foot down, and they are just driving along the whole way, Jason. This pretty much could be it.
Strambitsky's trying to stall for time, trying to keep them away, trying to keep them off the actual payload so they can finish this one off. It's going to be stopped. Well, not even stopped, just short, because they actually do pass it, and Kangorillaz will secure themselves the first map here in this best of 3.
They've done it. They've been able to lock it down. Obviously, unfortunate for Blerst. The first map was looking good. Well, the first round was looking quite nice for them in the way they actually played it. Good time.
The attacking half.
Yeah, it looked competitive.
Not the full round. Not when they dropped a player and were forced to play defense 3v4.
That's not always ideal. It doesn't really bode well for them. But for Boop, it was the fact he was actually having an incredible game in terms of the actual work he was getting done. That gets swept away from him. Kangorillaz, though, overall, picking it up. They do win that first map, Jason. And at least now they're in a position where really if they take another one, that's it. They've secured it, they've won that semi-final, and they are in both of our grand finals here for our Echo Universe.
To qualify for Echo Combat, or when you qualify, you get a minimum of $7,200.
Yep.
For Echo Arena, it's a minimum of $5,400, just for qualifying to this part today.
For being here.
So now that they're in the finals of Echo Arena, they're guaranteed a minimum of $9,000, with potentially winning $18,900. Echo Combat, if they win this one, a minimum of $12,000. And if they win the finals, they win $20,400 too. So like they have the potential to clean up like a majority of the pot here for the Echo Universe. Like potential 19,000 plus 20,000, like that's like 39 grand that they can win just from this event alone.
There's also potential that if they did actually go on to get into that final, they could take the lion's share of like the whole pot for both of the games. But literally just, you know, the max amount, Jason. I know, you know what I mean.
I do. When it comes to money, I'm very well versed.
You are indeed.
I'm very well versed when it comes to money and saving things. But Strambitsky, you see, he gets very sweaty when he plays. And I think we saw in the interview yesterday, after the Kangorillaz won, like how much physicality goes into playing VR. Like he was dripping sweat. That's why he looks super fit, like a snack. Can't take him to a movie theater because you're not allowed to bring in your own snacks. But that is going to be a potential. Yeah, you like that one?
I like that one. That's good.
But they have potential to close us out into 2-0.
Yeah, to be honest, the worrying factor is at this point, it couldn't be incredibly likely because there's quite a high chance it could actually get back into it. So you have the highlights from that series. Some of them were actually really nice shots across the board. Boop was impressing an awful lot.
I actually wish we could bring Jersey in to talk about this because of having the double Comet and the double Nova was something. I mean, we were just kind of talking about the double Comet when it comes to combustion, but to have the double Comet, double Nova kind of set up, and with Sputnik Cobra kind of picking up the reins and joining Strambitsky on the Comet hype, that's really interesting. I'm curious what Jersey actually thinks in terms of the breakdown of that. Maybe we can get him in, in a second if we have a potential for that, or maybe at the end of the series. It'd be really cool to hear because that's what we talked about. Are they going to bring anything new to the finals? And I think we've already seen that Kangorillaz were prepared.
They're not sticking to the old and stable. They are actually being able to switch it up and play a little bit more on the fly. We're talking about the phase matrix. Obviously, the Nova play was the overall factor that was a whole lot different with the actual surprise capability of it. Is there any more little tricks up their sleeves, though, Jason? You know, do they have some cloth up there?
Do they need to show it right now?
Like a clown? Well,
I mean, well, you saw their sleeves. They're not wearing long sleeves, though.
Short sleeves.
The only thing they have up their short sleeves is like these massive guns for their biceps.
Do you own sleeves?
I like not to, but it looks like actually okay. We're gonna be heading into Dyson, so no delays here as we get into our second map. Let's see, we've got the double comet. Sorry, not double comet. Yeah, the double comet again for Kangorillaz and the double meteor. So again, switching things up. Shrimbitsky's been using phase shift, but they have triple detonators, which I kind of like to see. It's a very risky proposition. We don't have as much healing, but you have the potential to win a fight if you can land those shots. And Blerst going to be sitting in their spawn, waiting to see where Kangorillaz are going to be holding from.
Now, historically, Blerst, they weren't the world's best Dyson team. So this is what we were talking about before with Jersey on the desk of how have things changed. They've been able to get a little bit more practice on that with the actual overall regimen and improve themselves as an entire whole. Come back into it now. We'll have to be careful.
Actually, Shrimbitsky spots him going straight into the point. This is exactly what we saw with Blerst up against Gravity. They just pretty much launched directly onto the point and force a fight right off the bat. However, I don't think they're looking too healthy. They do have all 4 players left alive, and of course, as I say that, the commentator's curse comes into effect, and they lose out on 2. But it seems Kangorillaz might have been able to defend this. Again, Leverage, just watch him. He is so damn good at dodging and avoiding damage on the point. It's really hard to take him down. The thing is, you could take down his entire team, but he can stall so long that they can respawn back in and get to the point to fight again.
It's that nuisance factor as well, though. Shrimbitsky and Leverage, the fact that he's just darting around.
And you have the dancing out of Leverage, which is basically his own phase shift.
It's super
his passive.
awkward.
It's a Leverage passive. It's a phase shift.
Like, it's so horrible to deal with because you're also just being beaten down by Shrimbitsky's ridiculous aim.
He's given so much free reign to do damage. He got boop low. Now if it got cleaned up by him, eventually his team will lose on the fight. But like, if you leave him alone, he is going to hit these shots.
It's just wild. The single-handed capabilities
and then
this
they
man
charge
has
into him,
causes them to come off the point. He's out. It's ridiculous. He's always one step ahead, Jason.
I do like that they went for that, considering they had a man advantage. They actually forced out his phase shift, which now forces them to play a lot closer from odd angles. Actually being flanked in from behind. The point's being given up to them here, so Blerst taking a page out of Gravity's book as they try to boost in around behind number 21, which is going to be Leverage, but they've not been able to catch on top, and they've lost the point. Kangorillaz is going to be back taking the lead here in a few seconds, and Sputnik's actually back on the Pulsar as well. So he's dropped the Comet.
He's actually traded it back over. Doesn't really matter what they have in their hands right now because there's just bits everywhere. Nuts and bolts all over the gaff, Jason, as they've quickly retaken that point. Going to get themselves into an even better position now as they've been able to come back through, completely wasting everyone on the side of Kangorillaz, and now they should be able to excel.
So Force Field coming in for Sputnik, and he switched back, or sorry, not Force Field, he switches back over to the Comet. So he's just being so agile when it comes to what they're running. He's switching things up constantly. Adelego's dropped very low. Boop's already been cleaned up here. They already have a man advantage for the attack.
And the snipe's already coming straight back out from Shrimbitsky. It was a beautiful opener. He tags down 2 players so ridiculously low. So at this point, when they do go for the attack on the point, they can just melt their way through him like a hot knife through butter, Jason. And they're all just down on the ground. Everyone done for. The retake from Kangorillaz. 30% to 59% now for Blerst.
I'm actually really curious what Sputnik Hopper is going to do here. Again, they can close off a lot of these tunnels with arc mines if they want. They can really, again, force Blerst to take a lot of damage as they approach the point. They're actually not even challenged on the initial launch in towards the point. Shrimbitsky's just sitting off to the side. Again, it's great to have like a Comet player if he's hitting shots, but the problem is if your teammates don't survive on point, then they don't buy you the time to clean up kills quickly, and it's not allowing you to really be super effective. So now he's been forced to sit back yet again. Sputnik Cobra, whenever they don't have control of the point, he goes to the Comet, but I feel like when they do have control, he goes to the Pulsar, so he's constantly jumping between these 2 weapons.
Very dynamic in the way he's actually overall played this. Shrimbitsky, though, mostly been gravitating towards that area where he can actually get those back shots off and just snipe people down. Up and aggressive, though. Everyone charging straight through as they're going to try and fight into this. Shrimbitsky not able to do too much damage in close and personal conditions. They're actually whooping them right now, Jason. They do get side control. This isn't the best fight across the board. Both sides looking a little bit sloppy on that one.
So now we have Silverback with the Nova and Leverage on the Meteor. So I do respect this. Kangorillaz are consistently changing things up. And again, a lot of damage being done as they try to transition to the point. I still would like to see like the double detonators thrown in when they're launching in, but that's going to be Blerst completely clean sweeping this point, taking all 4 players down. I feel like there's an easy opportunity for teams to take advantage of the way Blerst attack on the point. they just launch straight into it. You get the detonators lined up. If you hit a meteor shot to the front of the forefront person, you're going to get kills before they get there. But that's going to be Blerst taking the first point here on Dyson.
Was the full frontal attack. That's pretty much what we've just been seeing the entire time. Kangorillaz
arc mine it up, you know, arc mine detonators.
Yeah.
Like they're doing the same thing. Blerst are not adapting. We're seeing Kangorillaz do that consistently with the weapon choices, with the ordnance choices, and yet they're still not taking advantage of how consistent Blerst are being in their strategies.
Well, that's the problem. They're not adapting as well in the way we've just seen Strambitsky basically trying to play from that backstab angle, right, where he's trying to get off the snipes, but he can't quite do it effectively because everyone's site's just crumbling at that point.
Exactly,
because you're overwhelmed. It's literally a 3 versus 4 where you're just going to be charged and everyone's going to go down.
Yeah, well, hopefully when we get into round 2, they're going to be able to shake some things up, because that could potentially be Blerst coming back into it and forcing a third and final map on a combustion, which would be great to see, especially after what happened on our first map here. Now round 2 kicking off. On the orange side, we got Kangorillaz. On the blue side, we do have Blerst. And Blerst again going to be sitting back in their own spawn and letting Kangorillaz get the initial control. Double detonators, double meter, double nova, so Blerst is just sticking to what they know. Low Gecko takes a hell of a shot right off the bat here. I think that was out of Love Ridge, and Idlego's going to be the first to fall.
Point unlocked. The all-out battle goes down. Lone Gecko and Sealable Bag trade into a piece, as they will be able to at least put themselves into a fairly good position now.
The thing is, Jackie, what's so rough about this is the fact that if Strambitsky doesn't hit the shot, or even if he does hit the shot and he does get like an insta-kill, the Comet's not going to be nearly as effective as a Meteor or Nova in close range, which is exactly where Blerst want to fight time and time again. So the Comet, I think, technically is not even really working out for them anymore, especially if they go for the initial control. They need to pull like the gravity strat of like popping off the point, allowing Strambitsky to do some early damage, and then attack once they get a kill.
It feels like they've literally completely negated his playstyle now at this point, because we saw obviously it wasn't really working at first.
They're not facilitating him to do what he does best, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of give and take, right? Because it feels like they could change things up over on Kangorillaz, but it's literally just a complete counter that's coming out from Blerst as well, where they're just always in your face, hammering down once and once. Never stopping with that. There's not too much you do. You don't have that time for the quick adjustments with a flexible bag, though, at least, trying to make things work. Finally, they're going to get control of the point, but it's pretty late in already.
Well, they have a lot of... Well, at least I thought they had a lot of tacticals up, but they invested pretty much everything into that fight. You can see they have the instant heal and the repair matrix as the only tax and ordnance to use in this next skirmish, which ideally they should not win, because you see Lone Gecko with the ability to heal. Had the ability to heal twice and double detonators. If anything, Kangorillaz should not invest anything into this fight. And, well, they get completely wiped out here. And Sweating Cobra's back on the pulsar. I do like the switch-ups. I'm really curious to hear what Jersey says about this later on. I do like his constantly changing his weapons. But now we see the switch-up come in finally. It looks like Strambitski's going over the Nova, running triple Nova and a pulsar.
This could actually be the counter they needed. It was getting stagnant. They had their number. Now they've changed it. Let's see if they can try and work their way back through. They are able to get at least the opening site control. They force them back off, and they're going to battle around the point as the complete swarm comes in. Popping those health mixtures, trying to keep themselves up into a good position. Sputnik Cobra with the first, but it's not looking great, Jason, as the trades come back through.
I think now Blerst going to have to think for a second about what to do. Even though Kangorillaz didn't take the point, they now realize, all right, Strambitsky switched things up to the Nova. They know what weapon he's using. He's gone away from the Comet, so they have to be more prepared for fights on the point. And Sputnik Cobra actually picks up a triple with the Pulsar. Somehow he's able to pull it off. Lone Gecko's going to come in and finally shut down that killing spree. But Blerst still going to be skirmishing for this one. The problem is the point's being helped by Kangorillaz, which means they have a longer respawn when they do die, which means Blerst is going to get back in time to always have a man advantage.
That's so awkward as well. Every time Leverage is on the site, you can just see everyone trying to swarm and chase behind him, literally just like a school of fish chasing down, and it never works out too well. Blerst getting point control once more. At this point, still contested, though. The early touches coming in, but they're going to realize they need to back off. Sputnik Cobra could have lost everything there.
Was the point turn right before Nillywick died? Because it actually is going to give a man advantage for Kangorillaz for 4-on-3 on point if they buy a little bit of time and wait a second for the last respawn to come through, which is going to be Strambitsky. I'm going to dive right back on point. Sputnik Cobra looking to do a lot of damage from range here, not able to hit as many shots since you kind of have to look at it as a projectile weapon since it's not a hit scan. And Silverback picks up 2, Strambitsky picks up 1, and now Blerst on 70%, Kangorillaz on 58% and counting.
Yeah, they've cleaned up to actually reopen this one. They can equalize this now. At least keep it close at 70%, just as the fight's going to come back in. Are they going to hit them with a Blerst and bombard their way back into the site as the airstrike comes through? Landing on Idalego, opening it up, is going to be able to take down both of the S's. It's not looking great, Jason.
Well, we got the double J's here casting, the triple S's playing, and the triple S's have fallen, unfortunately, here for the side of Kangorillaz, and Blerst should be able to take the point back. Can they maintain it now for another 30% and take us into a map 3? That's going to be the question. That's going to be the thoughts on their mind. Kangorillaz thought they're going to be thinking about is, should we change anything up? Should we change a different way of attacking? They're still maintaining the triple Nova and the Pulsar. We have Strembitsky trying to flank in from behind with Sealable Bag, trying to go for a little bit of a pinch move. They're all grouped up now together, looking for the damage. Boop's going to fall, so they get the man advantage right off the bat. The problem is they're taking so much damage. Sealable Bag, Strembitsky both going to fall. Sputnik Cobra as well. And Blerst are going to take us into a map 3.
Surely they're going to lock it down from here. 98%. It's just a matter of time.
Leverage.
It's always Leverage on the site. Just being
Is he going to win? He's won these before. He's stalled for time.
He's got the site.
He's prevented Blerst from winning the map just off that alone. They get the respawns back in. They have all 4 players left alive, and I called it too early. You can never count out Kangorillaz when Leverage is alive and still breathing, even though I don't think the robots really breathe because they don't have lungs. But it doesn't matter because Blerst now, they have to touch the point. 2% left to go. 3%, sorry. And it's going to be the last skirmish, the last battle to see who wins this round.
Whoever takes this one will lock it down. It all comes down to this. Literally mere percents away as they fall down in such a tight position, Jason.
They've done it, Kangorillaz. I think they've done it, yeah, off the back of Leverage's all-star play there of stalling in a 1v2, even takes an enemy out, buys time for the respawns to come back in, and now Kangorillaz are 1 round away from closing out the series 2-0.
How does he do this so often? He's never punished. He just outmaneuvers everyone. The movement that he has is crazy.
The thing is, like, we have not really seen any other player be able to do what he does.
No. Literally hands down. That's why it's so, you know, it's sort of become a meme where we're just like, oh, if Leverage is alive, he's going to be able to just dance around on point.
It's not even a meme, it's true.
It's true, yeah.
Oh, man, Leverage has been able to do it time and time. You can see a cheeky smile in his player picture behind him as he knows. That's probably the smiles he's making as he's, like, stalling for, like, 30 seconds on the point. Like, don't worry, guys.
To himself.
1v4, I got this. He'll take 2 down and buy time for you to respawn back in. But now with Kangorillaz switching up things for good, they've gotten rid of the Comet play. They're like, all right, forget this. Strembitsky, switch to Nova and stay on this. We have triple Nova and a Pulsar, and they got 3 detonators. On the other side, they have triple Nova and a Meteor. So even now, Blerst are adapting their style, looking for more upfront damage, not depending on the splash damage as much. And they have the double detonator. So you have more burst damage out of Kangorillaz. But let's see how it's going to go down, as it looks like Boop's going to be the first casualty.
More damage coming through, though. Strembitsky with a trade back onto Lego at this point, as they are just left in a bit of an awkward fight. You've already lost 2 of the 3 S's. Leverage taking a hell of a lot of damage, and this time he's not going to be able to dance his way out of this one. No Cha-Cha sliding away for victory. Nearly coming off the point there, but they are at least going to be able to open it up as Blerst gets the first bit of control.
Oh, you saw Kangorillaz. They almost wanted to just jump directly on the point. Problem is the respawns are going to be there. Sputnik Cobra trying to attack from the high ground here. And the Pulsar can do some decent damage over time. It's definitely a big nuisance that you have to worry about. It's more of the burst, though, out of the Novas that you have to kind of keep your eye on. As looks like Blerst have fallen off the point, allowing Kangorillaz to get the control. But now the Kangorillaz are going to have the longer respawn timers, so Blerst could have an advantage here. But they've already dropped 2 men. And there should be Kangorillaz maintaining the point. But now this should be, you know, Blerst with a man advantage on the re-attack.
And this is horrible as well, because you've got to think about the current amount of pressure that is actually just falling onto Blerst. You're going to a position where you could have won it, you could have shut it down, taken it through to a 3rd map, basically a fresh reset. Now it's this or nothing, as they do try and get back into the affair, though. Sealable Bag, not going to be resealable at this point.
It's a good retreat. Don't fight. Don't force long respawns on yourself. Maybe look for another avenue to fight with as Sputnik Cobra goes in. Sealable Bag has fallen, and now Kangorillaz going to have to wait for time. Wait for the respawns to come back through, as they're going to be up against 3 players themselves. They could technically have like a 4v3 here if they sent someone back to pick up Sputnik Cobra.
They've gone for the dive onto the site. It was slightly delayed. They've now got all 4 of those robots on site, ready to rock and roll.
I almost would have loved to have seen them chase Niliwit coming out of spawn, kill him, and then you have a 4-on-3 that you should be max HP on. But now he's been able to rejoin the fight for the, I guess, the little bit of time as he does get cleaned up, and Kangorillaz will take the point, or should be taking the point here. Actually, they've fallen off of it. Okay, so Leverage wasn't there to contest it. And Blerst are going to maintain control.
Not the most successful initial opening. Lone Gecko as well on the site. That's that connection off onto Leverage. There will be a trade back from Strembitsky. Finally, they gain the point control, but it's much later than they initially expected it to be. They're going to get the advantage overall in the total percentage. But Jason, it's not going to be by much. We're looking at about 50% when the fight comes back through from Blerst. It looks to be the classic Blerst airstrike, and they're straight back into the action. Yeah,
no switch up in compositions either from both teams. They're still maintaining the triple Novas from both sides with the Pulsar and or the Meteor. And that's going to be a clean take at Kangorillaz. To be fair, they didn't really invest any tacticals into it. And you look at Blerst, so technically they have a healing advantage. They're equal in terms of the instant repairs. But the healing or the repair matrices are going to be in favor, of Kangorillaz by 1. But again, it's all about that burst damage. You have to pop those early to make sure you keep people healing up. You can see Strambitsky constantly flying low. He's died, I think, twice over. Sputnik Cobra will be cleaned up as well as Loveridge. And Blerst going to maintain control. Look at this, 66% and counting. Kangorillaz only have basically like 1, maybe 2 attacks left to pull this one back.
What's wild as well is we've actually only got like 3 players with 3k damage on Blerst, which is it's pretty up there. They've been hitting a ton of shots and really being able to transfer as much damage as physically possible. Strambitsky, though, he wants a piece of the pie. Back into the action. Goodbye to Nillywick. Keeps it going as Boop's been busted. Lone Gecko is not happy, though. He doesn't want to go extinct, Jason. He's trying to fight his way through this one, but Loveridge is on the scene. You know what happens when he's there.
Well, he's looking like to turn it here. Adelico realizes he's got to back away again. The respawns because they had control. He has to regroup with his team. Kangorillaz should be able to get out here in time. Actually, Kangorillaz now have lost a player. So Blerst getting a little bit of a sigh of relief is what happened to them on map 1 on our on Fission when we were on our payload. So now this should be Blerst potentially taking to third map. They can win the 4v3 fight. They know how to fight 3v4 after what happened, and they know how to win a 4v3 as well. We can see the reconnect come back through, but it might be too late here. Blerst taking the point, 88%, and Kangorillaz are going to have to hope somehow Loveridge can get on top of the point and stall for time, because with 5 seconds left, I don't think they're going to have an opportunity here, and I think we're going to a third map.
Make it. Couldn't do it, Jason. There wasn't enough time. It comes back through. The shoe's on the other foot. The 3v3 shoe with 3 toe holes, but
nevertheless, 3 toe holes.
Well, you know, because it's 3 people. You normally have 4
a third
toes.
Shoe. I don't know. What?
Sorry?
Did you sleep last night? I'm a little bit confused. I thought it was going to be Ryan who was going to be the wonky one today, but. Hey, what's up?
What's up?
But it's going to be now map 3, and it's going to be Combustion. And this is where I think the double comets could be really cool to see out of Kangorillaz. This is what we kind of theorized before about attacking from multiple angles or having like the same kind of sight lines that you can hit the same player. If you can communicate, all right, hit this player, hit that player, you hit a double snipe shot. It doesn't matter about headshots anymore as long as you hit the body.
I think this is actually kind of quite a fitting finish as well, obviously, of this best of 3 going back into it now. If this is the way it's gone for both of those maps, which is keeping it way close there until the unfortunate dropout. If we're now back into it, it's a straight 4v4, basically the fresh reset, Jason, a best of 1 to close it out between the 2 sides. It's a fair gambit, you know what I mean, to see where this is going to go for who is actually going to be the better man walking into that final. Kangorillaz potentially 1 step away from being in 2 finals. Blerst, this is where they could try and lock it down and potentially have that EU face-off versus Gravity later on.
I mean, we have, what was it, 5 NA teams and 1 EU team at the moment. Ouroboros, the only one in Echo Arena to get through. I mean, and 1 player from Ouroboros is actually here, is Nillywick. He kind of came in as a sub for Ambient when he hurt his back, and I mean, he's got to feel maybe some extra pressure on his shoulders trying to represent EU here.
Yeah, the single flag holder, just hoping to try and, you know, keep it going for his side potentially.
I know, because the thing is, I know he'd be more than happy to get through into the final as well. Because the thing is, like, imagine you're Ouroboros and you're like, we lost a player.
Yeah.
Right before the tournament, and then you ask Nillywick to step in, and he steps in and helps carry your team into a victory in Echo Arena to the finals. That's got to be fantastic. And now if he can do it here with Blerst, he's got to be feeling on top of the world. The problem is Kangorillaz are still not letting this series go without a fight. Combustion's going to be definitely an interesting map, and I'm curious to see how, more importantly, Kangorillaz are going to look to defend or attack with double comets.
How they actually switch
up the
rug.
Look at the rug. Maybe that's how Loveridge is so good.
Rug?
I think that's a Loveridge. Maybe that's why he's so good. We talked about yesterday, like, you got to feel comfortable, right? Replicate your home environment. He's got a little mat he plays on.
I want to see this map. I want to see what it's like. I feel like it'd be, you know, quite soft, sort of cushion the toes. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's quite small. It's like
I would not want to touch him after, because that static electricity would, like, knock me out.
I feel like really shakes his feet.
Yeah.
Builds up that charge.
I mean, to be fair, like, it's also like a thing of comfort in terms of where you step on the mat. If you feel like the outline of it, you'll know where you are on the platform. Like at home when I play, I have like a chair protector thing on the ground for like the wood. So where I'm stepping on that, if I feel it like on a certain part of my foot, I know exactly where I am in my little space.
Where you actually
so I can, like, exactly. Okay. So I can reposition. But maybe that's how he's so good at being mobile. Maybe it's the cushy socks and the soft little mat.
Potentially so, because I mean, there's something about Loveridge. You know,
I think there's something.
The edge.
There's a marketing idea there. The Loveridge rug. The Love Rug. No, that probably is a different thing. But the Loveridge rug would be a selling point. I'd buy one of those, you know, Blerst colors.
Yeah.
Or Kangorillaz colors.
So like a team branded one. You know, sew it. Maybe, you know those kits you can buy where you sew them yourselves and it's like painting by numbers, but you thread it?
Cross stitch?
Yeah. We do one of those.
Of a rug?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think you know how cross stitch works.
We'll make it work.
Well, you know what? He's looking to make it work. And these guys on your screen, Blerst looking to represent EU as we move over to our third and final map of the series. It's Combustion. Kangorillaz again going to be gifted the control around the initial point as Blerst looking to see how they set up. And we're seeing the Pulsar to Sputnik Cobra, the single comet out of Strambitsky, and the double Meteor. And again, Strambitsky using the threat scanner. So he's definitely looking to hold these like really far off angles, looking to see the avenue they're going to attack onto the point. And for Blerst, they're going for the triple Novas and the Meteor.
Into this where it's going to be the widest open space, potentially allowing for some of that classic Strambitsky style.
If you can get the Oculus headset to like scan your face at the same time, so if you look at the robots, you actually see the players' faces like live.
Like underlined.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
We'll work on that.
I've been making stupid faces the entire time I played though in hopes that someone would see it.
Just trying to tilt people. Let's see if there's going to be tilting plays. Yeah. Damage done, Jason, as they've got that control towards the site. Ed Lego doing a ton of damage, actually keeps it going as well. He's had enough of what Loveridge has been doing. He spits on him and his rug.
Well, that's kind of rude.
Yeah, I know. He's an aggressive man. He's an aggressive man.
Well, Blerst now 23% and growing. They only lost one player. That was Boop, who's going to be returning into the fight here another time. We're still going to see the single comment out of Strambitsky, and hopefully we can actually tag along with him to see how he's going to go for the attack, because he's still running Threat Scanner. He's not switched over the phase shift. As you see Silva back here looking for another angle to attack with. You can see actually Blerst not really holding on point. They're actually holding off of that to prevent Strambitsky from getting as free as rain as he wants. And you can see he's already dropped very low. To have another player here off the side, that's going to be Boop right around the corner.
Oh, stealthy Strambitsky.
You know,
the silent assassin.
Credit to Blerst. They're doing like a decent job in their positions right now to prevent Strambitsky from doing as much damage as they possibly can. They're denying him a lot of angles. They're healing up a lot of the damage. And they finally focus him down when he gets a little bit too close. Really well done by Blerst.
They've literally completely countered his playstyle pretty much every time. It's literally the ideology, if you don't know where Strambitsky is, look behind you at this point.
Okay. Sorry, it's hard to cut you off because we have a little limited time here. You're seeing the double comets now to Kangorillaz. I feel like this is like them saying, all right, we're gonna lose this round. Let's try this out right now to see how well it works and how well we can implement it into round 2. I think they've already given up on this round because with no percent left to really give up, they have to hope that someone can just stall for time on the point.
Well, it didn't go too well in the limited amount of space they actually had to play with it, but the thought process is there.
I like dropping the meteors on this point.
Yeah?
Because technically, yeah, there's a lot of like things you can hit, like a lot of walls. Like obviously you want to hit them direct if you can, but at a minimum you want to hit a wall near them for splash damage, just for some guaranteed damage, which is why the Pulsar is better than a lot of other weapons, because you're going to have more of a chance of getting more guaranteed damage. But I like the Nova switch up instead, because meteors, there's so much terrain you can hide behind. It's so hard to hit. There's so much open area still technically that you can miss walls, that you just switch over to the Nova and just play with the shotgun and try to protect Strambitsky a little bit if you can, if they want to push up and get aggressive against him.
Well, it's that sheer size increase you have here as well. There isn't as many islands just completely darted around, so the cover they have is a lot more limited. As you can see, it's way more open than the other points, really, and just the sheer initial space you have. Little smaller bits of cover in the individual islands that are darted around.
Strambitsky's pushed up really. I think he's banking on the fact that none of them have a threat scanner. I think he's going to allow them to push in towards the point, and he's going to attack them from behind. This is actually like a read into Blerst, because I think they've realized they've not used Threat Scanner a single time in the course of this best of 3. So use this to advantage. And I think we definitely need to keep an eye on Strambitsky. If we can go to him, just watch what he does here as they transition to the point. Yep. So now he's swinging around. He's going to be attacking from behind. You got to watch the health bars out of Blerst, see if he hits any shots. Looks like, unfortunately, Boop's been able to clean up 2 players of Kangorillaz. So again, the time hasn't been bought. I don't know if Kangorillaz like used the healing soon enough, or they just got bursted down so quickly, but there was no time for Strambitsky to do damage. So I'd say forget the Comet play. This is not going to work. At least on the defense like that when they have the initial control.
That was rough. That's the thing. You could see the entire read that he'd actually gone for there. It was pretty big brain play.
Yeah, it was 400 IQ. It just his teammates died way too quickly.
They just didn't actually get that execution off.
I think that's because they're running double detonator on the point. I think they switched over to some extra healing here to help allow some time. I mean, again, look, they were running the double Comet. Sputnik Cobra's going to use that as Strambitsky switched over the Nova.
Talking of time, though, Jason, they're going to need to turn back time if they actually want to be able to win this one at this point, as it's just not looking great for them at all. Finally starting to fight man-on-man towards the site and get themselves back into at least somewhat of a buildable position, as they are left in the 2-on-1, as they're trying to dart around. Loveridge will find out Nillywick and be able to eliminate him, and finally, you get control. You get a touch on the point this late in, round 2 at 41% for Blerst.
Let's see, able to return back to join up. Sputnik Cobra. Again, using the Comet. He's not using the Threat Scanner with this, though. Strambitsky's still maintaining this, even though he's using the Nova now. And they're up still against the Triple Nova and the Meteor on the side of Blerst. But Blerst have time to play with. They tend to give a round to play with as they crash directly on top of the point. Sputnik Cobra again, looking for some damage. But just like Strambitsky, his teammates fall too quickly for him to be effective. So I'd say ditch it. Screw the Comets right now. Switch over to like quadruple Novas, if anything, because you have nothing else to lose right now. You have to change up your strategy. It's not working.
They're looking at the Kangorillaz right now, Jason. It's just not working well at all. It's all going straight out the window.
The Kanga Crumble?
The Kanga Crumble. They need to do something different. They've got to switch things up. They've got to get that confidence back. None of the aspects that give them that edge are here right now. It's all gone out the window. Communication's gone.
They're fighting a man down. I don't know why. They just gave up an entire attack here.
What is going on?
Sputnik was nowhere near to help out, and they just pretty much dived onto the point. He's basically by himself now as he's trying to go into solve for time. He should just wait for the respawns. And I think that's going to do it. I think Blerst are going to come back from this. I think they're going to come back from the unfortunate disconnect they had in map 1, and I think they're going to take the series here on the 3rd and final map.
It's over, surely. They were so staggered by the plays that they made. That's it. There's not a single chance. They only had Strambitsky going back in to try and get a touch off, but it was not meant to be. Blerst have done it, Jason. They come back through. They fight their way through horrible feats in the opening map to return to form, to lock it down. That is a Blerst victory as they'll be blasting off again.
Coming back from such a crazy night yesterday, able to pull out Strong Lone Gecko, looking like he's sweating everything out there on the stage, leaving nothing left behind. You can see Boop definitely happy about this one, considering what happened with him and Gravity yesterday with Echo Arena. They have to be so proud they're able to advance through further. And Niliwick, he's now in the finals from 2 games here.
He's been looking damn good.
Echo Arena, Echo Combat, you know, if I should shuttle with him back tomorrow, I'm going to ask him, like, hey, you got any extra prize money? You want to buy me something nice and pretty for talking all good about you? But, hey, I mean, honestly, Blerst deserved it after what happened on map 1 to keep that composure alone, to, like, brush it off. Like, all right, forget it. Let's put the map 1 behind. Let's focus on map 2. Let's come back after Love, which was able to stall time and time again and still take the series. Fantastic job by them.
It's one of those aspects where it's like you kind of have to just try and take a best of 3 as a best of 1 in terms of mentality, right?
Take one map at a time.
Yeah, you literally have to ignore the other maps and just try and tone it out, completely focus in into what you're up to at the current time. Just play it step by step. Genuinely, it seemed like actually the little bit of extra time they had as well with this series going on longer gave us some time to get into it as well, Jason.
You know, I also love the fact the camaraderie between teams, because you don't get to see NA versus EU often. It's like twice a year. Right? And they obviously know each other from watching each other play, maybe potential like international scrim, stuff like that. But it's all one big, lovely community between the teams, and they get to finally come here and hang out with each other, play matches against each other, doing what they love. And it looks like, you know, we're going to have here on stage Niliwick, 17 years old, needs a guardian here. Maybe I should sign up on the money, the earnings he's winning. I'll definitely give him 100% of it because he won 10 euros, right, guys? That's how it works. 10 bucks? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
So let's head down to the stage, I'm guessing, with Letigris and Niliwick.
We are here on the stage. I'm standing by with Niliwick after a great performance in that semifinal. First question I want to ask you is the fact that on the opposite side, they were changing up their strategy all the time, but Blerst had a very consistent strategy going through. So how do you feel that that helped you take the victory there in the end?
Well, to be honest, we didn't really have any other tactics. That was all we trained, but we knew it would be good, so we stayed with it.
Well, one specific tactic that was really great to watch was, I believe it was during the 2nd map or the 3rd, you had a great play rotating around early to get a couple of those early eliminations for some advantage on the point. Just walk us through what was going through your head in that moment.
Well, I can't really say. It's just like trained in, we just do our tactics. I'm not really thinking while playing anymore.
All just in the muscle, in the memory. Now moving forward, you're now going into the finals. Just last honest question, of the 2 teams, who would you rather face off against?
Well, that's a hard question. I think I would face off Gravity because we played them already in EU. We know how they play, so I think we have like more of an idea how to play against them.
Well, soon enough we'll find out who your opponent is going to be in the finals, but for now, let's send it back to Ryan and everyone on the desk.
Thank you very much for that, Gabby. Blerst pulling through there. Didn't look great in the beginning. Kangorillaz turned on the heat early, but then Blerst stayed in, showed a great example of their intestinal fortitude, pulling through there in that 3rd and final map and putting themselves in the grand finals that they'll be taking part in later on today. What a performance that was there from Team Blerst.
Yeah, fantastic. Reverse sweep in the best of 3 series. I think they absolutely deserve that. I mean, I was just sat here in awe looking at their payload map on the first run. I mean, before the disconnect that came through, they basically said, okay, you play the long range game, that's cool. We're just going to move the payload up piece by piece. You have to, and the thing is, because they were running long range, they had no one to go and contest that because they were in a 2v4 situation. Strembitsky wasn't necessarily hitting the shots he needed to do the damage, and they were just like, cool, this is just the status quo. We're just going to keep riding this point over and over and over again. And unfortunately, I actually think the only reason they lost that second one, I would have loved to see their full 4-man defense, but they were so strong in that first payload round. I would have loved to see how they could have held that, because I think they could have taken it there. But that said, coming back into the second game, fantastic play from them on Dyson, holding it to the very end. I mean, the only point Kangorillaz got was just on a last-minute hold from Loveridge, again carrying him through on that, like the 1 point they won on that map. And yeah, just their last hold on combustion was just indefensible, like inoffensible. They just couldn't break it, and again,
indestructible. Yeah,
exactly. And I think as well, looking at their attacks, yes, it was the same strategy over and over again, but they also switched up their angles they were coming at. And I also think Strembitsky's hold, when he held back waiting for it, I just don't think he realized how fast they were going to get on that point, because this is a full team of Echo Arena players, and as especially in combat, they are the fastest team that will boost around as a 2-man stack more than anyone. So to see that coming out from them, like basically getting on the point instantly, like it's very hard to read, because against any other team that flank probably would work, because they would have moved up slowly, great positioning, get some damage in from range. But because of the speed of the attacks from Blerst, it basically left Strembitsky, even when he hit those shots, no time to capitalize on it. His team, like, cool, I've got the shot, got some damage in, right, I'm going to communicate to my team now that I've done some damage on this player, and then the rest of his team are just busy fighting for their lives, so they're never going to hear that call. They just have to kind of deal with it as it goes. And as long as Blerst do exactly what they did, which was juggle themselves, their positioning with cover, that's the way that they kind of managed it and basically completely counteracted what they were trying to do.
Extremely smart strategy there. What a way to break down Strembitsky and Loveridge and not allow them to play the game that they've planned to coming into this. We're going to take a quick look at the bracket and see how that's updated. Of course, semi-final 1 is done and dusted, and we're going to go over to semi-final 2 shortly. Blerst there with a 2-1 victory over Kangorillaz in the grand finals, sitting pretty. Fat Kings at the table waiting to see who will be their opponents out of V Respawn and Team Gravity. Tim, your boys in their third and final opportunity to grab a trophy here at the finals. What do you think of Team Gravity? I mean, you know, obviously it hasn't been the greatest outing so far for you boys, but is this going to be the one? Yeah,
I think all the teams have given it their all for this tournament, and I think obviously, as we kind of said, with the best of 3 series, it's a difficult one. You've got to come out and play the best game straight away, no holds barred, which is exactly what Blerst just did. And I mean, going into the next game, the Respawn versus Gravity, it's going to be a really interesting one. We don't really see this regional matchup ever, well, really at all.
Right.
And the times we have seen it, to even a small degree in kind of some inter-region community cups with scrims and things like that, it has been really close between these two teams. Gravity have found ways to engineer past defenses that V Respawn have that have previously been thought you couldn't be broken, and that has kind of followed on for more people trying to figure that out, as I was mentioning before. But really, it's going to come down to, I think, how these natural 2 strategies match up. I think, can the Gravity kind of defensive tactic of you take the point, we're going to fight you in a better position, beat out the more controlled, slow play style? Well, I mean, will that actually hurt V Respawn more than actually getting fast and aggressive like Blerst? Alternatively, will just the raw skill and maximized potential of the control play just take over? We really don't know at this point.
One of the biggest unanswered questions so far is, can anyone topple V Respawn, as they are here representing North America and they are looking dominant as ever in their final form? We're going to cut to a short break, but when we get back, it's time for semi-final number 2.